Hello and welcome to the Large and Unnecessary First Player Token podcast. This is episode 84 and my name is Chris.
I'm Euan.
I'm David.
And Pawel is absent this week.
He is, but well...
He's not going to be able to do part one of his Battletech review that he started last week.
Was last week just a prologue?
I think that was a prologue.
It was a preamble.
In terms of story, yes.
Yeah.
Just the introduction.
Yeah. I think there's a long way to go with this Battletech saga.
There was definitely a thanks and acknowledgement section last week.
Yeah. there will probably be an appendix to all this as well.
So no Pawel, but how are you boys getting on?
I'm pretty good. Just enjoying life.
Alright, tell me more.
Well...
What have you been enjoying in particular about life?
Well, I received a prepared statement
Alright.
Today from Pawel.
Ah, right, okay.
It was sent by bicycle courier, a lovely lad named Kevin. We had a wee smoke out at the back, and he told me about his
wee gran.
Aye, it was it was nice. The sun came out for a moment.
So you shared a moment with Kevin.
Yeah. Oh.
And then he gave you a prepared statement from Pawel.
He's passed me a letter.
Are you going to read this in Pawel's voice?
I can't really read it in Pawel's voice. I can only really read it. It's interesting. He writes very eloquently, like compared to how he speaks on the podcast.
Could you not read it in a moderately offensive Eastern European?
I don't know. I feel like I've done enough of them.
Doing like the vampire voice,
the
Cold War vampire, Jewish vampire, I think it was.
We'll see if it goes that way. Then
see previous episodes to find out what we're talking about.
Right. Well, here is Pawel's.
Okay, let's hear it. Then. Let's hear it.
Dear Euan, it is with a heavy heart that I write these words. By now you'll be aware of my shameful decision to withdraw my presence from tonight's podcast. It is my hope that what I am about to convey may explain my decision to you, the whole podcast team, and of course our many, many listeners. I believe that I can entrust you, my comrade Euan, to convey my words with the utmost fidelity and respect to their true meaning. The truth is, I've grown desperately weary of the entire Battletech enterprise. I would go so far to say as I loathe the game I showed so much enthusiasm for last week. I find the gameplay dull, the visuals excruciating, and the whole thing to be an appalling farce. I mean, it's just a bunch of daft robots when you get right down to it. And don't even get me started on the lore. It's real fact packet stuff. Pretty sure half the novels don't even really exist. I mean, sure, you'll meet someone who says they have a copy of By Blood Betrayed or Warrior, On Guard. But then you ask to see it and suddenly it's, I left it at Marek's house. And then of course it's Marek has died in a fire at home and so on. But I digress. The fact is that I need some time away from all this nonsense to concentrate on something I truly enjoy. Something immersive like NetHack. In the meantime, peace out bros, and I'll be back next week to answer any questions you might have. Love, Pawel.
Excellent.
So,
I believe he would have then just gone off and had a massive hit on his crack pipe.
Pretty incendiary stuff.
Yeah.
So he will have some questions to answer when he comes back.
I really hope the people that made Battletech are not listening to this.
Oh, God.
Note to harebrained schemes, that bit was made up.
Does anyone actually have anything to say about Battletech? Because I know that...
Dave?
Oh, well, I did. I've been reading the reviews. I haven't actually played it, didn't go that far. But I felt I had to go and learn a bit more about this game, seeing as Pawel basically said, like, fuck all about it. So I did. But I think I might save it until Pawel comes back.
Okay.
Is there any particular reason why you want to save it until Pawel's here?
Nah, just not really. We ran over the last time, so we'll keep it short.
All right.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Pawel's actual review before I decide
looking
when I'm going
forward
to pick
to
this
it.
up. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Hopefully he gets over this little blip that he's had.
Aye. Crack's a hell of a drug. Anyway, we're here to talk about video games, so let's do that then. So first up, we're going to talk about something that Pawel really would enjoy if he was here. Because you know that like every young lad in a communist state, you know, like when Pawel was maybe about 6 years old or something, looking around in communist Poland, you know, seeing the queues of people outside the shops and everything, I bet what he was thinking to himself was, I can't wait to open up a PC repair shop in a capitalist country when I'm older. And that's what this game lets you do, minus the communist bit, but it does let you open up a PC repair shop. So this is PC Building Simulator, which got released just a couple of weeks ago, I think. It got released in early access, I should say, so it's not finished. It's not finished PC Building Simulator, but it does what it says in the tin. It lets you build PCs, but it's not just that, because there are different modes in this game. So there is a free build mode, so you can just take all the bits that are in the game currently and build up a PC with it.
But can you unlock more?
So, but in the free build, everything that's in the game is available.
Okay.
So everything that they've put into the game already is there. You can do it, but the game recommends that you play the career mode first, so that you get a feel for how the game works. And the career mode does give you a sort of eases you into.
Is that to avoid spoilers?
I think yes, to avoid spoiling the unlocks that you get. But there's also a tutorial as well, I should say, and I believe when we were talking about discussing this game a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago or something, when I first discovered that it was going to be released, that one of the theories was that you could make a PC which then run PC Building Simulator, and that's what the tutorial does. You can build it shows you how to build a PC using some pretty simple PCs, and then once you turn the PC on, it runs PC Building Simulator, and it's excellent. Just so meta.
That's what you want in a game, really.
So the career mode, now that's where the real game's at. That's the game, all right. So there is a story. There's chunky lore for Pawel to get himself immersed in. Is that I believe it's a family relation. You know that old chestnut. You know, like in a lot of games, like your uncle's left you a farm and you're some sort of chosen one.
That's what I thought of. Harvest Moon.
Yeah, something like that. So it's along the same lines. Just like your uncle's left you a PC repair shop, and presumably you're some sort of chosen one. I don't know about that last bit, but I just like to think that, you know, there is a chosen IT technician out there that's going to save us all. So yeah, you're left a shop. You have no money, and you have a bad reputation because your uncle or whoever it was bad at his job and kept messing things up. So because one of the first jobs you get through the email was from someone who had their PC done by your uncle. I think this is true. It was done by your uncle and it was done badly, so you have to fix what he did. So you can go into your emails. You've got your little computer there, and you can go into your emails and see a list of jobs, and there's only like one or two there to start with. And you can accept these, and they're very easy jobs at the beginning. They are generally just, this computer's got viruses, can you scan it, get rid of them, and send it back? But it's easy money, so like you're making $100 straight away just by doing that. So you accept the job, that the computers will turn up the next day inside your office. So you're actually working in a 3D office where you're using the WSD keys to move around, and you can pick up the PCs, and you can go into your inventory and get different bits out to put them into the PCs. So yeah, the computers will turn up, you can take them into a workbench. You've only got one workbench at the start. You can unlock buy more workbenches as you get to certain PC technician levels. You can unlock extra workbenches, which come in handy when you're doing things like running programs on computers. It means that you can get a program running and go and work on another one, just to be more efficient, because, you know, efficiency and being a PC technician, that's what it's all about. I'm sure Pawel will tell you this as an IT man. IT man's
they've just got one of them.
Word.
Yeah, but he's got 5 desks, though.
He does have 5 desks, yeah. For his 5 legs. Right. Yeah, like I say, the job start are quite easy. You've got a little USB stick that has some programs on it that you can install on people's computers, including the virus thing. There is also the 3D Mark program, which exists in real life, exists in this game. so that you can benchmark PCs. You can install that on people's computers. You can go to the shop on your own computer and buy other tools. So like there's one called Will It Play. So you might get an email from somebody saying, my computer can't run this program, can you give me the minimum spec for this program? And you can get this Will It Play program and install and run that, and it will tell you what you need as minimum specs. So then you can go and order the PCs. So yeah, the game generally involves you looking at what's needing to be done to what computer, and if you need to order PCs for it, then you can do it. Sometimes the customers are really vague and annoying. Sometimes they're quite descriptive. Sometimes they'll tell you, I need 500 gigabytes of extra like hard disk space. Can you do that for me and install it? And you're like, no problem, which means that you can straight away, before you've even received their computer, go into the shop and order your 500 gigabyte hard drive and have it delivered at the same time as the computer turns up, so you can get the next day delivery for it. Install it and send it back straight away. Sometimes the customer just says, there's something wrong with my computer, fix it. So you don't know what's wrong with it.
It's like real PC repair then.
Yeah, and then you have to get it in and diagnose it. And those are the more fun ones, because those are the problem-solving ones that get you thinking. Because you have to do the whole PC technician thing. You have to, like, okay, let's see what happens if I replace the CPU. Is it that's what's broken? Or is it the PS? You know, if you press the power button, nothing happens. It's probably the power unit. So you got to go through all these little steps that you would do. But the game kind of, like, it doesn't throw all that at you at once. You know, it gradually eases you into these things. And you've got to do things like, you know, if you replace the CPU, you have to put thermal paste on. I have run a computer that I forgot to put thermal paste on, and then it runs for a little while and then just shuts itself down, and you're not allowed to send it back, and you go, what the hell have I done? Because you've burnt out the CPU. But the game uses real life things. So they've done this game's been done in partnership with a whole bunch of different companies that actually make PC parts. So like you've got, you know, graphics cards by MSI, AMD, Gigabyte, CPUs by Intel, AMD, your memory, Corsair, Seagate hard drives, Cooler Master fans, loads of others as well. These are just some examples. For example, they can come in different colours. You can put lights on some of these things, and you can use a program to change the way that the lights, what colours they come up as and stuff. Do all this stuff. There's lots of different types of cases and, you know, motherboards with different CPU sockets, so you can't put certain CPUs in some motherboards. You have to make sure everything works properly together, and you learn all this as the game goes through. And I mean, when it comes down to the actual putting the PC stuff together, that's you know, fiddly and the way it should be, as it is in real life. You have to, you know, take the side case off, and that goes into your inventory, but you've got to do that, like, if you have to unscrew all the little screws. Thankfully, you don't have to keep all the little screws anywhere. Those just automatically go in whenever you put a piece in or whatever. But every case is different, so, you know, when you're working on a computer, you don't really know what you're going to have to do. You might have to remove some pieces to get the other bits, for example. So, like, when you're putting a PSU, and you're going to have to make sure, like replacing a PSU, you have to take all the cables out for all the different bits that are connected to it, and you might have to take off a little, you know, sometimes you have to take off a what would you call it, like a chassis thing or something like that, to make sure to get into that and then put it all back together again, blah blah blah. And it's just done through mouse clicks, really. You're just clicking on the screen, just like, I want to unscrew this thing or connect that to that. And you can, as the game goes on, buy ridiculous, like made up stuff. So, for example, when you power on a PC, when you want to power on a PC, you have to connect the power cable. You have to connect the mouse and the keyboard into the back of it, and the into the graphics card. You've got to connect the monitor into that. You can get a thing that just does that automatically when you press the power button on the PC, so you don't have to keep doing that, because that is really annoying. That's the most annoying bit of the game, is constantly plugging the mouse and the keyboard in doing all that stuff. So yeah, it's actually a pretty solid PC building simulation, and because it uses real life PCs, you're actually learning how these bits go together and whether it'll work or not. And it's probably like, if you've never built a PC yourself before, it's probably worth paying the, you know, 10, 15 quid, however much it was this game cost.
Yeah.
Just to see if you can put these things together. I mean, in the future, they're talking about doing things like adding things like water cooling in, overclocking. They want to get more components from more manufacturers, and I think that, like, you know, if people are going to be using this game, then it would be sensible for these companies to have their components in this game, because people are going to want to see if they can put it together. Because at the moment, it seems that in like Nvidia, for example, there are no Nvidia graphics cards, but there are like AMD ones and Gigabyte and MSI, like I say. So if somebody's wanting to just go in and say, "Oh, I'm going to build this computer and run 3D Mark on it in this virtual environment and see what score I get," they're only going to be able to do that with the stuff that's in the game.
Right.
So, and then somebody goes, "Oh, well, that works, and I've got a high 3D Mark score in this game, then I'll just build my computer with this stuff then." You know? So I feel like if people are going to use this as a tool, then these manufacturers should probably get their stuff in it, I would say. They're also talking about adding different job types to the career mode. I don't know what that means, because at the moment you're pretty much just doing everything, replacing everything. I don't know if they're maybe talking about if it's going to be a completely different game mode itself, or I don't know. But this is what they're talking about for the future, because like I say, it is early access, and I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to be in early access yet. But it's pretty solid. And I read something earlier just before we started, actually, where they're talking about using it as an educational tool for classrooms. I don't know exactly where. I did have the thing open, but I've closed it now. But yeah, they are talking about doing that. So that's how sort of solid this game is, even though it's in early access, you know. Any questions?
I had a look at it. It's quite an impressive looking game.
Yeah.
Graphically, it's nicer looking than you might expect given the content. I like the idea that you're uncovering the fact that your uncle was a terrible person, though. Is that ever expanded upon?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's just a very it's just
style.
You know, story style stuff. Like your uncle was bad. He's bankrupted the company. You've got to fix it now. It's something like that. Anyway,
I think you should check under the floorboards, because I think there might be some hard drives hidden under there.
I should say that in the career mode, there is an incentive for you, because you have to pay bills on your rent and stuff like that. And in fact, the electric company gives you you get an electricity bill every month, and they tell you, by the way, you should probably turn the lights out before you leave every night. And it turns out you can just turn the lights off and turn all the computers off and stuff, and I think that does just save you money on your electricity bill. Wow. Oh, you can also, you have your own personal computer, obviously, where you can do all your shopping for stuff, and you can also upgrade that. I don't think it gives you anything other than just a wee bit of satisfaction. So yes, PC Building Simulator is by the Irregular Corporation, I believe, and it's in early access on Steam, and just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Is there any sign of VR support for it?
I haven't heard, but I think that would be interesting, definitely.
Imagine it'd be something to look at. They've got these big plans.
Yeah.
Okay, right, let's move on. And we are going to hear from Euan.
Yeah, finally played some games.
Well done, Euan.
I've been playing The Swords of Ditto on the PC on Steam. It is also available on PlayStation 4, which seems more like its natural format. It's basically like an action RPG that it's definitely in spirit trying to be like the sort of early Zelda game, like it's particularly Linked to the Past, which it sort of reminds me of. But it's, in terms of actual gameplay and mechanics and everything, it's very sort of heavily roguelite in how they've sort of done it. So the map you're on is procedurally generated. You turn up on this island basically, and you're going to keep dying as the game proceeds, because basically you're some random citizen who has chosen to be the Sword of Ditto, and to go and you have to go and find this sword and go and fight this sort of weird creature, sorceress woman, Mormo, and you're given 4 days, and the game time's quite quick, so it fairly rattles through the days. And it's kind of this quite cutesy art style. It's, you know, it looks nice. It's all colourful and everything like that. And it's definitely going more for this sort of RPG style than Zelda. It's definitely there's a spirit of that sort of Zelda thing. That you smash up pots and grass and stuff like that, and you'll find money. usual kind of thing. But rather than hearts, you have a HP sauce bar, and all the enemies do as well, and they have levels, and you'll go up levels. When your character dies, you'll sort of lose the sword, but then it's basically the sword retains the levels. So it's kind of, they're basically doing, a lot of folk I've seen sort of compared it to Rogue Legacy in the way that you sort of get better and try and sort of progress. The whole time limit thing is a bit weird though. So far I haven't actually played out the 4 days because I keep dying before then, just doing daft stuff. But there's dungeons and things like that you want to do. Basically, there's various things you can do to make the final boss fight easier. I'm considering probably on my next playthrough just sitting and letting the 4 days elapse and then going and doing it, because I'll probably get killed. I think that's the idea in the early stages.
But you need to find out what you're up against, you.
Well, yeah, you want to know. I mean, the only time you do encounter her is like the sort of first playthrough is kind of like a weird demo thing, so you get a lot of tutorials and stuff like that, and you go straight to fight Mormo and you just get instantly killed. You don't even really get a chance to fight her, so it'd be good to see what's going on with that. But yeah, there's basically the thing with the time limit is there seems to be stuff later in the game that you can unlock that lets you keep more things like your sort of upgrades and stuff like that from one sort of character to another, and also allows you to rewind time. And so far all I've sort of worked out about it is that there's this shrine that has like a whale on it, and you get these tokens that you present to the shrine, and I've only given it one, but it's lit up this thing and it's been there permanently between playthroughs, so I think it's something that you can sort of build up as you go on. So yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how it develops. Like I say, I haven't played through that much of it yet. I still haven't had a go at the boss, and the initial stages are quite difficult. I've found there's like a good variety of enemies so far, and you know there's quite a bit of difference in their attacks. The first things you encounter literally don't even sort of go for you. You just can hack them with your sword, but then you start getting sort of various things that do either strange attacks. There's sort of like there's some kind of flaming skull knight thing that has like a sword and a shield, and you find yourself having to do kind of rolling past him when he's going to attack, and then like attacking him from behind and stuff like that. So they've made it a bit more complex than even kind of that original, those sort of top-down Zeldas. So far I've found like a lot of variety in the enemies, which is why I died so many times actually, because once you can get overwhelmed quite easily in this as well, even by sort of lower level stuff. But it definitely gives you quite a bit of a challenge at the start of the game. But so far I'm enjoying it.
Like, does the game only go for these 4 days, or is there more after that?
Well, it's the idea. It's basically, so it's like the Rogue Legacy thing where you're this character who has the sword and you go off and do it and you die, and then it's apparently 100 years time passes in between each time you die, and then somebody decides that they're going to be the Sword of Ditto. And then they're given it's always for some reason it's always 4 days when they wake up. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It's a bit kind of arbitrary.
So do you win the game if you beat whatever it was called?
I think that's the idea. Again, I haven't discovered too much.
I see.
One of the good things about it is they haven't over-explained things. You do get a lot of tutorials in the early stages of the game, and you have a kind of like a hub area where basically this town where there's various places you can go. You get stickers to sort of upgrade your character, so you put stickers on your arms and legs and your weapons and shield, and that upgrades them somehow. And there's like basically a place that sells stickers, and what they've basically replaced the various items with in Zelda is you have these, they're called toys in this, and you'll have like a toy power that, you know, certain ones will use up as they go. So far I haven't really got any particularly interesting ones. There's just a thing that shoots basically BBs. It doesn't do any damage, but you can use it to hit switches and things like that, so it's useful in the first sort of dungeon for completing certain puzzles and things.
So when you go through the dungeons, what do you get out of that?
The dungeons
items or
will give you some of these toys.
Right.
So it's kind of slightly in that Zelda style. There are toys you can buy like straight away, but you will lose them if you die. I think. Again, I haven't tried many of them because I haven't. One of the things about the time limit is it stops you mucking about with like just constantly destroying every blade of grass and picking up, because you could pick up loads of money that way. But I've just sort of let it ride. I haven't really spent much because stuff is fairly expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll get stickers, you'll get toys, things like I know there's definitely a bow and arrow in the game, because the first playthrough you have one, but then that's taken off you after that. And I think most of the toys you will lose in between if you die. But there is, apparently there is a later stage in the game where you can keep certain ones sort of from one playthrough to another.
Okay. But is it fun?
It's definitely a lot of fun. It's it's cute and sort of silly, but there's a lot of kind of like that sort of try hard humour you get in indie games.
Yeah.
But
it seems the type.
Yeah, you let that slide because it's fun to play.
When it can't be hilarious like us doing.
Well, no.
Imaginary alerts from Pawel.
Well, it's quality podcasting we put out here. They've got to spend a lot of as much of that time sort of actually making a game, so I can understand why their attention might be sort of drawn away from the humour side of things, even though they're trying.
Sorry, so I've got another question actually. Yeah. So you say the game is procedurally generated. Mm-hmm. Is it so every time you die and respawn, is it a different world?
It's like the world's slightly different. There are certain things, particularly around where you'll start, that'll be roughly the same, but it won't be exactly like they'll have different names. Like the town will always seem to have a different name every time you come back. I guess after 100 years, things change a bit.
Yeah.
Because it was like Ditto the first time I was there, and then next time it was just Ditto, and then it was Dittoville, and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, like little things like that will change, and the areas will around where you fight monsters and stuff, they'll change. The position of the dungeons and things like that, and just random certain artifacts.
So it's just basically regenerating it every time you respawn. Then basically, yeah. Okay, yeah. I did wonder if that's what was going to happen.
It wasn't something I was expecting when I picked up the game, because it was definitely sold more on its kind of that sort of Zelda aping kind of link, but it's definitely something that is in its favour. It sort of works, keeps the game flowing nicely, and just lets you kind of muck about and explore it. I'm getting that same feeling I did from Rogue Legacy. It's just like I just want to keep sort of actually kind of pushing, see what I can do with it.
Rogue Legacy did a good job of making you want it, even though you died and had to go back to the start. You're like, I'm going to keep going this time. I'm going to get far this time.
That's it. It is that. The only thing I worry about is because the issue I always had with Rogue Legacy is like once you got to the kind of later stages of the game, it just kind of lost appeal, and I've never really wanted to replay it that much after once you get to that point. So I don't know, because at the moment I feel it has a lot of replayability. I'm just going to keep going back to it, but yeah. I can see that kind of if there's a definite end point with killing Mormo, then I think that'll work quite well. So we'll see.
See, with the generated dungeons, they're in a Zelda style, are they?
Yeah, so the puzzles will be roughly the same.
Does it do a good job of generating a semi-convincing Zelda-like dungeon?
I've only done one so far,
okay.
And it had the features like the first one I've done has these sort of walls, red and blue walls, and buttons that you press to change between them. That kind of you know classic stuff, and flipping switches to make certain things happen. Like fairly pretty good standard puzzles. I'll see how it gets on as it progresses, but I think there's definitely. Yeah, I guess they probably don't change too much about the dungeons themselves because they probably want them to be in a certain order.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's just quite interesting, the idea of trying to algorithmically generate a Zelda-like dungeon with with keys and boss rooms and little puzzles where you throw boomerangs at switches or BBs in this case.
Yeah, so far it has all that, it's worked pretty well. So the other thing I should mention as well is it's available on the PC as well, but it does support it's kind of set up for co-op as well, so you can have 2 players. So that could maybe make the game more interesting as well. Might sort of help with dealing with the constant dying and the 4-day time limit.
Yeah. Do you have to stay together for co-op? Do you know?
I don't actually know, to be honest. We want to be interested in trying. I can see it probably turning up on the PS Plus at some points soon. It just seems like that kind of game that'll probably wind up on there. After I've spent 15 quid on it on the PC, which isn't really its natural.
Just to take a short tangent here,
Oh, yeah.
there was something turned up on PlayStation Plus, which was like a remake of Qbert. You remember Qbert?
I think you mentioned this to me. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Just
well, I played it. It's got a retro mode, which is the original Qbert, basically, and then it's got a new mode, which is a more modern Qbert, and you play it for 5 minutes and go, well, that's enough of that.
it's all they need to be.
But yes. Swords of Ditto, Euan.
Yep, that's published by Devolver Digital, developed by One Bit Beyond.
One Bit Beyond.
One Bit Beyond, yeah.
The Madness song.
Yep.
And that came out just
That's
recently.
Fairly recent, yeah. It was the end of March that came out. So, people still checking that one out. And like I say, it'll probably turn up in some kind of promo soon. I can see it happening.
You can see it. You can feel it in
I
your
can
water.
feel it in my bones.
Right, thanks, Euan. Dave.
Hello.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing another early access game.
Oh, it's just the early access episode.
Yeah. Well, it's where the
fun's at.
It's where the joy is, I find. Not in, soulless retreads of previous formats involving robots and that sort of thing. That said, this game is a retread of a very well-trodden format.
Is it,
Don't tell Pawel that.
With seafood.
Oh, if only. Although there is a massive octopus in the game. No, this game is called Wrong World. And I believe it came out last year, and I picked it up. And it is it's on Steam, on PC only, I think. And it's a survival crafting game, let's say. In the vein of games like Don't Starve, I guess. That's probably the most famous sort of touchstone to compare it with. And you do a lot of the same things in this game. You start out, you're a little alien dude, and your spaceship has crashed, and you've landed on a foreign planet, and you have to survive. You start with nothing, and you have to go about gathering resources such as wood or stone, and then
is there ore?
There absolutely is ore. How did you know?
Do you have to smelt it?
You have to, well, first of all, you have to collect it, and there's a few things that you can craft at the beginning of the game, but eventually you're going to need to build a crafting station to allow you to build.
What a surprise.
I know, the more exciting things. And there's animals, various creatures that are on this world with you who are not going to make life easy for you. They're quite aggressive if you come too near them. And you've got various tactics at your disposal to deal with them. You can fight them, you can build weapons, you can build a fire, which will scare some of them off. That's quite nice. And you can also use your fire to cook your meat and cook other dishes like mushroom stew and things like this. And your job is to, I think it's ultimately to build a spaceship, another spaceship, and to escape the planet and return to where you came from. And that's it. That's all I've got to say.
So why should anyone buy this instead of Don't Starve?
Well, I mean, it's not really like Don't Starve. Like, for one thing, it's
an alien.
Much smaller scale operation, a much smaller budget, and made by a team of one. But so yeah, they're similar in the sense that it's permadeath and you have to feed yourself and that sort of thing. And it's not like Minecraft where there's blocks and things. This is all just straight polygons, and you're not. Whilst you can build a base, you're just putting down walls and benches and forges, as you said. It's right. The regular deal that we've become very, very familiar with, and we've seen a number of times before in other games. So, like you say, why would you play this? Why did I even buy it? Well, the first thing that drew me to this game is your little character that you play, your little alien dude, looks like a sort of fuzzy Wookiee teddy bear.
Aww.
With two massive googly eyes and like little fuzzy ears that stick up from the top of his head. And he's...
If you're watching at home, Dave just put his hands above his head to show us what ears look like.
Yep, ears that just to show where the top of your head is, in case you're not familiar with that. Yeah, but that aesthetic is carried through the whole visual and audio design of the game. Everything is quirky in it. So to start with, you've got nothing, and you have to go and collect wood. And you do this by headbutting the trees.
That's good, but it's better than punching them.
Excellent.
He just smacks his head repeatedly off the tree until it falls down and yields its precious logs and acorns and what have you. And yeah, you can build axes and stuff, but initially you have to do that. You know, you have to start out by headbutting.
Why would you?
Yeah, exactly. And like, all the weapons are stupid. Like, you get these big fist things that he carries around so you can punch things to death instead. They're like those massive Hulk fists that kids can buy, a bit like that.
All right.
So he runs around with these crazy little things, and he looks funny when he's got his armour on. And the monsters are all very strange. There's like sort of weird... In the forest areas, there's these like acorn beasts that... They're not acorns, they're like pine cones, but it's almost like they've got masks on, like tiki masks, and they're a bit Zelda-like, and they make funny noises, and I think they throw acorns at you. That's their attack. They drop down out of the trees sometimes. In the stone areas, there's these big sentient boulders that have massive googly eyes on them, and that split in half when they open in half to chomp you, like, sort of like Pac-Man a little bit, but the two halves are actually separate. There's crazy Yeti things in the snow zones. There's these weird springy snakes in the desert. They're freaky, and like, just the combat is weird. They attack you in bizarre ways. Like, the snakes like kind of try to headbutt you, but they don't. It's very difficult to describe. But when you punch them, there's like comic book Pawel signs come
nice.
when you hit them. So it's all very weird and quirky.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Initially. So there's that. It's also very smooth to play because of the sort of low graphical quality. Well, it's not low quality, just the low amount of stuff that's going on in terms of like effects. So it looks very plain, but it's super smooth and nice to play, which is good for me on my sort of aging laptop. But there's something else that makes it special, and that's the reason I'm talking about it on this podcast. And as you go about exploring the world, picking up your resources to do the same sort of stuff you've done 100 times before in other games, you start discovering there's other things in this open world, like telephone boxes, British style red telephone boxes, henges, like Stonehenge type things, wishing wells. There was a massive like radar dish sort of station thing just sitting there. I had a quick go today to see, and I saw something new that I'd never seen before. There was a huge cage with a like giant hamster like monster inside it, and you had to try and figure out how to open it. I think I could get it out. There was like a little sign on it that gave me a bit of a clue. There was a hatch, like in Lost. If you guys ever watched any Lost, there's a thing very early on in the island. They find this mysterious hatch, and it's locked, and it's becomes a big focal point of the episode. Well, there's one in Wrong World as
Oh,
well.
right.
So presumably
hatch?
you've got to figure out what's in the hatch. I've got quite far in it, but there are so many of these things. They're like random events as well that can just happen. There's like meteor storms, but there's loads of others. And I don't want to spoil them all because discovering these things is part of the joy and the uniqueness of this game, because they all do stuff. They're all there for a reason, and they're all important and fun in their own way. Like there's cannons, just like random cannons, for example. And it turns out you can get into the cannons, so you can light it and it shoots at the monsters, and you can rotate it and move it about and change its elevation. It's quite hard to hit the monsters with it, but what you can do is light it and then you can get in it, and then it launches you a massive distance across the island. So you can use this for fast travel, and that's what you tend to do. You get them set up, and later you can build your own. So you can use them as a sort of fast travel network.
That doesn't kill you.
No, but you do smack off the ground when you land in a really comical manner. And you like there's mysterious numbers that you find written about the place, and they were like, and all these other weird items. Like I found coins, and I'm like, what are the coins for? Well, you have to. There's various things you can do with these coins. I mean, well, I've already mentioned there's a wishing well, so you can probably guess that might be one of them. These are the great thing about the game. There was one more. There was a giant statue of a sort of frog type animal, but like this. It's like the Statue of Liberty, buried in the sand. This is always present in the game, and it's always somewhere in a sandy area, and it's half buried, like the Statue of Liberty at the end of
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. So it's got a kind of crown, but it's holding a massive fly swatter. And then there's some sort of beasts there, and there's something there you can discover. And figuring these things out, some of them are just for fun, and some of them have practical uses, and some of them will allow you to complete the game, because you can build your spaceship, but you'll find that you need fuel and such for it. And I think interacting with these points of interest is part of the way that you will gain fuel for your spaceship and allow you to ultimately complete it. But they're just so much fun. Like you'll come across random things, like the acorn tree men with the masks. Sometimes you go to a wooded area and they're doing this like ritual where there's a whole bunch of them and they're all dancing round like a tree stump, and it's absorbing energy from all the surrounding trees. All the surrounding trees, instead of growing larger, are getting smaller and smaller. The energy is like sucked out of them, so they're stealing your tree resources for one thing. But you're like, well, what's going to happen? You could just go and attack them, or you can just leave them and see like what the outcome of this is. Like the Yetis do something similar. They have a little ritual as well, which, well, I'll spoil one more thing. Because the Yeti one is amazing. It's so significant, the game actually gives you a notification for it if it happens near to you, because if they complete their ritual, they summon a massive Yeti, and it's absolutely huge. 20 times the size of you, and it starts like chasing after you, and it doesn't stop either. You can't get away from it. So you have to deal with it. And it's perfectly capable of like just stepping over the walls that you've built around your base and absolutely mincing you. So yeah, this is the unique selling point, I think, of this game. I don't think I've ever seen this in another game. I don't think so. I'm sure it's not a wholly original new idea. And there are elements of this in Don't Starve. You discover like things in Don't Starve as well, like like the Tree Man, for example, and so it's kind of a bit like that. But they're just way crazier and wackier in this game. There's all these different things, the points of interest, and he keeps adding new ones, and they have that slightly quirkiness, like the fact that they're telephone boxes,
and
cannons, and what have you.
I've played a survival game similar to that, but it's not got that I don't think it goes as quite as extreme and mental as that, as what you're describing, but Feel the Snow, I think it was called.
Ah, I've not heard of that.
And that was a kind of survival game, but yeah, there was a lot of sort of just little bits to explore and stuff like that, and the map's different every time you play it and all that sort of thing. But there's definitely just like fixed things around the place that will always appear, and you get quests to do from, there's like witches and stuff hanging about, and they're like, oh, go and do this for me. And yeah, and some mad stuff happens. I'll maybe review it at some point in the future, because I keep meaning to go back and play it a little bit more just so that I can get a better feel for it. But yeah, definitely kind of similar thing to that.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's it's a wholly one-man operation. I mean, it's made by a company calls it Sludge Games, but he's called Jamie. And he lives in England somewhere.
Stop unmasking them all day.
No, everyone, it says it on the Steam page. So this is made by Jamie from England somewhere. I can't remember exactly where he's from. And I don't think this is his full-time job. He does it in his spare time. And I like that as well. I like these auteur-style games where it's one person's vision.
Going back to the days when Spectrum games were made in somebody's attic.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah, that sort of thing. But I love the fact that... Well, for this one, I was going to say I love the fact that it's his ideal of like the game he'd like to play. I get the impression that for this, a lot of it, a fair amount of it is also a coding exercise for him.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff he's adding into it that I wouldn't necessarily add into it, like things that people are things that people are asking for on the forums, like people want animals that they can ride about on. Possibly that's what that giant gerbil thing is. I'm not sure yet. So I mean, he is doing stuff like that, and I think he should totally focus on just adding more and more points of interest and making them more deeper, so that they do multiple things. Because a lot of them are like one and done. Like
right.
You see it and you're like, okay, this is what it's for. But they have the potential to interact in all sorts of different ways, and the world has the potential to be more reactive to your behaviour and what you do, as well. Because a lot of the events are random rather than being triggered by something that you've done. I think it would be really cool if some of the things that you do might actually trigger events. Like you can plant meat in this game, and it becomes a meat tree.
Yes, beautiful.
So, like, if you make a forest of meat, it would be nice if a sufficiently large amount of meat trees, then maybe something could happen as a result of that, rather than it being...
Well, you should get on the forums and just silence all these people that want mounts.
I know.
Some massive change to the ecology of it.
That's the strength of the game. It's what makes it great, and the sort of survivally eating, crafting, that's nice. I think there's enough in it already. I don't think it needs any more than is already in it. And it's a fairly small amount, but, I don't see any point in adding more crafting stations, more things, turrets you could add. It's like, these are in other games, but crazy cannons for firing yourself about the island. You don't get that in every game. So.
Right, excellent. Okay,
Yep.
So that's Wrong World
By Jamie. 2017.
Jamie from England.
And this is just on Steam.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, what's the price of that, roughly?
It's actually reduced the price. It was £20, which was a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, he's put it down to 15, and it goes on sale periodically.
Jamie, you greedy bastard.
Well, I think
It's just chancing his arm. It's just his foot in the door.
You know what, though? The prices of early access games have gone up across the board.
True.
On Steam.
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
noticed. So, I mean, £20 was a lot for this game. 15 though is, to me, still sounds like a lot, but actually, compared to some of the other garbage that's out there now, this game is a lot more polished than a lot of other games that are selling. For
There
the
are a
same
lot of garbage
price.
games out there for 15, 20 quid on Steam. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Right. Okay, one quick thing before we wrap up then. So we're recording this episode quite early. We're in a couple of days earlier than we normally do. So I just want to say yesterday Fortnite Battle Royale Season 4 started. Because we're recording on a Wednesday, and I think it was the Tuesday it came out. And I had a quick go of it last night. Maybe played for about an hour, but most of that hour was just, jumping into places that were new on the map or whatever, just to see what was there. I was expecting some sort of big changes because what had happened through the whole season 3 was that a comet appeared in the sky, and it got bigger and bigger as the season went through, and there was the massive rumour that it was going to smash into Tilty Towers, because Tilty Towers was the area that everybody jumped into at the start of the game, and it was causing things to lag and stuff like that. And one of the fun things that happened actually was that the night before the season ended, or the night of the season ending basically, lots of sort of mini asteroids and meteorites and stuff like that started smashing into the game while you were playing it, and just blowing buildings up and stuff like that. And it was actually, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Just like darting in between all these things and fighting people, like that was actually a lot of fun. And I actually think that they should bring that back, even if it's just a limited time thing every so often. But that was a hell of a lot of fun. And then what's happened is that this comet has hit, but it's hit the very centre of the map. It didn't hit Tilty Towers as everybody thought. And the game developers trolled people actually, because everybody was saying, oh, it's going to hit Tilty Towers, they started putting stuff on the tops of the buildings in Tilty Towers when they did updates. Just like, it's going to hit today, and signs, and then somebody had crossed out the sign saying tomorrow. Because everybody was saying, it's going to hit before the end of the season and everything, which was never going to happen. And I don't know why people were thinking, oh, it'll hit in the middle of a season and destroy an area when there's challenges to be done in that area. So it doesn't make any sense that they would do that. So yeah, they were winding people up and stuff, and fair play to them for doing it. So it hit the middle of the map, it hit Dusty Depot, which is an annoying, tedious place anyway, and it's left a massive crater. Now in this crater, and there are various smaller craters dotted around the map as well, they're much, much smaller compared to the huge one in the middle of the map. So in these small craters and in the massive one, you can find these little crystals that you can pop, and then they give you a kind of anti-gravity thing, because it's not anti-gravity, it just, if you jump very high and go very far. So they've added that in, and it all ties in with the theme of the new season, which is to do with superheroes and stuff like that. But there also seems to be some sort of movie-making thing, so it's almost like superhero movie things. It's not actual superheroes, you're not going to get skins of, like, you know, Captain America or anything like that. Not yet, anyway. It's all just like superhero guys that they've made up for this sort of... Because the game's kind of cartoony anyway, you know. They've added in another area at the top of the map in the north end, which is, I can't remember what it's called, something Reels, and it seems to be like a kind of movie set thing anyway. And there are various places that they've changed around the map, which seem to be like they've added in little movie set bits in different parts of the map that have green screen, so you walk in, the wall's just carpeted in green basically, and there's a camera sitting somewhere, you know, like they're filming stuff all over the place for, like they've turned the entire map into a movie set basically. It's kind of strange, but other than that, they haven't, as far as I can tell, they haven't really changed very much. I think the one big change that they made in terms of the gameplay is that it's easier to get headshots now. In terms of, like, it used to be that if there was something like another body part in the way of somebody's head, so like just like an animation, like their hand was moved in front of their face and you shot them, it would hit their hand rather than their head. But it seems that now, if you target somebody's head and something's in the way, you're still going to get the headshot.
Right.
I think that's probably going to be quite a significant change. You're going to see a lot of people dying a lot quicker now, I think. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. I don't know. See, I was playing it last night and I was feeling a bit, I don't know, like I had no real opinion on the changes that they'd made. It was quite fun using these crystals and bounding about the place, but, you know, I didn't really feel it was necessary. So I don't know, I'm a wee bit on the fence about the changes that they have made to Battle Royale, but I know I'll play a bit more, I'm sure I'll get used to it. So yeah, just wanted to give a quick update on that.
Sounds cool. Do you think there's more stuff to be uncovered as it goes?
I don't know, because
bits back.
There's a whole set of new challenges. Yeah. They keep adding new little things into every so often, even halfway through seasons, they're adding little things in, even if it's new weapons and stuff. So we'll see how it goes as the season pans out, because we're still very early. This is only the second day, so we'll see how it goes. And I'm sure I'm going to play a lot of it this weekend anyway. Okay, so yes, Fortnite Battle Royale, it's now, God, it's on everything now, I think. You can play cross-platform, you can even get on your mobile phone.
Can't escape it.
Right, so that's episode 84 in the bag. Hooray, we managed to keep it under an hour, hooray!
Nice.
So, we are going to try and get our episodes, reel them back in a bit, because we've been getting a bit... blasé about it.
letting it run on a bit.
Yeah, we've been letting it run on, and the last episode was very long, so yes, let's reel it back in a bit. So we're going to do our internets now. If you want to contact us, you can email us at firstplayertoken@gmail.com. That's FIRST. If you want to find us on social media and stuff, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and SoundCloud. We're on iTunes, we have a YouTube, we have a Discord, and we have a PSN community, so they're all First Player Token, or larger than necessary First Player Token, FIRST. The exception being Twitter, which is at 1ST Player Token.
That'll be once player token, of course.
Thank you, Euan. And the link to the Discord is just discord.me/First Player Token, because you have to do it that way with Discord for some reason. I have a Twitch, and that is, my username on there is Unnecessary Chris, and you can probably see me playing bits of Battle Royale every so often on that. And we are part of the Podnose Network,
The UK's leading entertainment podcast network.
Right, you can give us some news this week, Euan.
I don't have a lot. I think the All Seeing Guys have got their second radio play coming out soon, so
Oh yeah,
out for that. I can't remember the name of it now. I saw the flyer thing the other day, and it's completely gone from my mind. So that's a useful update from me.
there was something really weird. One of the guys from Are You Movie Mad? One of their tweets was featured on a BBC News story the other day there, and I can't remember, because I was sitting looking at it. I was like, he's got his Twitch his Twitter username is Talent from Are You Movie Mad. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry for listening to this. I can't remember who you are, but I was like, Are You Movie Mad? That's part of the Podnose Network. And yes, it was. It was. I can't remember what the story was, but yeah, he was definitely there. So that was interesting to bump into.
Nice.
So yes, that was episode 84. We'll be back next week. But until then, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.